Or that's like right now, it's like it might be a failure of my life with that writing on it, that my best friend might be what like right now was put into that the name of the that the name of the remittance where like in that but considering that then might be actually considering like the possibility of that maybe still not making explain that that in the current like journey to bring down what you can bring down the bad was good. I think you also considering the body that maybe it was not maybe it's just right. Uh, and if that happens to that only to that for the excellence and do behind that thing of black might might by the time that should that happen might as that this that luck so that might be along the line that will might be staying at stepping up the might be the reason for that will right now taking that thing and putting that thing on the class which might be taking that thing from right definitely might be the answer to my that was the most potential right now for that the accelerators to that take off course of that for the man and this will then capturing that certain that might don't and like those are when you can capture and taking the away for like information set is another direction. But yeah, even my job and with straight away not giving them the answer at all like that current level of level is like like certainly those like forces that those infiltrators on the different like saying that away from like information set is another direction and that for example to like kind of shape that like protect or for the intel information that is going in another direction there. And what's for an economic graduate for like the pain of that joy and mobile home and that other than make it back to the joy movement again on and this will see that the home in that just for state that was another dynamic and definitely at that point was the finding that the statement of phone in the data that was not that went from the pocket and comes to the thing that the moment looks at the finding that start of phone like just another dynamic. That way that goes and when I go and finding out that it's that phone. So let's like to find out what happened like in the phone that mobile moment for it or like those like illegal in my lectures for it for and at that point I'm also recording that phone updating them about like what situation and they get like phones that went down like some different land phones like updating close and it's more about man about like the situation of that thing um that that like after like launch and that thing, like, I'm just finding that through Owen, that was like very much also for us more about when finding out about that headquarters of the UK that you know that like Mike and Jonathan was reading that in the states like and so so definitely at that point I'm sort of think that like at that point definitely George as well as like more about that Lucas would take the decision to like definitely integrate into that headquarters and rescue that Mike when the love that Jonathan was like another direction and definitely there was the about to set up from like the from search home in like California and so guys and like them running into lab Jonathan's friend was like so like friend as well going along with them to like save the Jonathan's like that's another benefit of it. And so the protein for like at that point that way like I'm also saying that that the team of that so my domain as well as like that which is that we manage to that integrate into like the headquarters and skip that the team of that might will as well as Jordan like the now it's that and so at that point I'm looking something that goes that they were telling more about that to stay at like that like they are getting for that token and just before like November to like stay at like not California to see of the data to like the case of and do the one like for returns like for November and with laptop to that they page from that to that token and basically for them to like together bring down like like some of those of that parallel work is like once and for all. Get on the night like and different so it's just like and basically that will like a different like the team of that might then as well as Jonathan as well as Lois would be about to that topic when I'm with the that Jonathan friends would be totally, and rewarding to go along with like the token that was not that so the point like in totally liking that the sense of that adventure and the thing the totally wanted to go along with that Jonathan to token like the that way that in the tiger and basically young horse that getting off to that is that doing the scenario that I'm going to learning today. So it's the liver trend right now is the liver lack of that get attempt to like the better and for getting usually getting captured and taken back to land so they like in the three the chat and saying that it's now that in the phone about it. So like I'm looking like the for usually the end of like happening to for now also getting captured and that when I'm going to and so straight away telling Mary that it will be like and I managed to like appear and so like so need to that to me like like to that much charity and take over it will be around the line and so between that point and that look so like that day that Mary getting on the bread and like you would come to the to be sitting off it's like putting it in a that is those are the things for like church and more they went to more feel that person towards like glory and that they as church and more they went very to like not go along with that glory to then know how to get the scenario that is that but it's that get back to the California and wait there until last you back with that over. So they down the night that's all different that church and the government taking the things like that way like I'm like church and more government making that they get back towards that was going like at that point like them shortly finding out what the topics to build and like this one and the thing like according to my friends and speaking with them from that what to be after like during would you might be like setting off on this like airplane to Russia that like I'm thinking how probably you get it captured and that's when like into also the state electronics that you place to inform you to like not to like Russia like not to but like I'm the sort of violence that normally you read myself for airplane and that's what also that the team of naturals and I don't know them might have that using by the effect of not that I'm that no picking up that for like and so it's like it's a share and I'm the thing that we got like the situation of that hope yeah they can go with in that the three like the people spring saying that that getting an Australian and deciding to that running also right giving home to that side in terms of personal that is the human rights also is like the in the scenario that I need to go with that way I can put frame depend in that starting to that point by giving home time until like the cases you have not worked with you that remove and we should quick take for like the as I was like still in the scenario that so yeah, so until then for black purple to that we know that that looks here that will be along the lines of purpose thing that we say the guy that's the mindset for that like in the scenario that I'm yeah that young like kind of figure assigning exactly and so like the passport like standing that for black purple and telling me that you can look like passport black black race you can use it like some information to take was out like all that after and like the intelligence thing info. So like from that on until midnight like open like no like info and basically from like the significance of like the interaction itself and of the asking and so like we should just man about like the notion that's like how they take for like they can export while talking about like the movement. So that and then going from what info the telling about like the monster like will be talking coming to that realization the realization of like the most change like most of like that segment of like the valuable fit definitely at that point I'm going to find like trying telling that all the kind of information about like the passport and about like management like changes that can be proper like at that point will be spelling and both tools that both can pop up out and basically don't cancel that together work together and take down that market and then from that important action for it could be channel the line plan so something to select into this like the analysis that is available so certainly at that point like and certainly at that point I'm not going to like and probably actually takes to that for the out because like and at that point so that I'm selling also that usually it's into like actually as overall once again like they might just choose a features for like the in the previous and you choose that that is like that totally that might totally look like impossible. It's like there are the like in the failing that point to that proper like in scenario that like and those at that point telling of that like that one chance that proper has to like a get that proper so that I basically now there's no hope of that in the state for like proper would be along the line that that point that and would be getting and proper and so the really telling and so even of how and of even telling and so that to give into extra like in exchange exact and so that's talk about what like the company that and still sort of the flexible scenario that I'm exploring right now and that will have the first so that way with the night and of still being being person and craft and that into the space that area and basically into producing that the most of and basically at that point that's what it's something they give us a black that really then like this generates not just on the battery or that is when they at that point I'm focusing like focus like I think that is happening about like around this and like wondering this way like even in such machinery disadvantages situation like in like that actually structure is out to that survive level and that actually determine like finding things laying around in that case like area like for producer that one that person can use eventually getting up with like some of struggling way into that managing to that for that basically whether that position up and was going injury of a signal to the then team scenario that I was like. And at that point I was going that into being a to shock and blown away by photos and that's because that I'm sorry just that doing scenario that I was in that like at that point like and so totally to listen for and basically it definitely the situation appear like basically quite was like fighting against like the monster or and was like the sorry like the monster at that point and so like entered the stage and tried to that interfere and stop Hopper and at that point that basically like the whole Flash ended up with like Hopper like Hopper went to as well and like at the gate and that way involved so nothing but is like that way to involving in the situation appears that they would like to the scenario that is right and that way like of interacting of how and visually of eventually finally helping out once again and visually of that way because we managing to like escape from like the case like in the scenario that was a so this like one popular guidance of different like the other popular guidance of for like by the line of completely taking out like the face of the as a dimension only at that point that's like for the for into the resource in the black box that they do and so like one very thing about how to escape but like the one that like in just most of the electronics and period like maybe even failing I'm thinking about like the possibility of like taking things like the compensation uh in that fucking different like and so my daughter only probably seen like the so like and so confirming that to like and that way like you can even like taking out like the similar most of like and like what that students can so help to that basically to destroy like the is that the scenario that I was running and at that point I'm different maybe like thing of a scripture maybe like and so being so student percent like and so deciding to that attempting to like separation how in that from the previous so that the scenario that I was and in that attempt like into getting found out as like the rate of originate and so I'm hoping teams that will do the hearing in that so that but like at the same time that before like soccer would be taking that and so getting captured and like that and so getting found up like a data and so getting right that feeling in other direction right proper along while proper still would be managing to like escape for like the second time that feeling is another direction and that way like proper making things that the locations were like do this like capturing the sector before so that get like proper and that point but the proper being early for like proper the driving feel like high and like the nearby force and the key resort of is like taking the parents of saying and that way like into the really showing up and like so in that point like and that what about like things and that this joy for to find a gap for like the international we are like for they have been managing to do that to keep fighting and stay away from that getting captured by the like so until that theory is done. They are playing basically for barely managing like get into that they are playing hands and not like your agent. So barely managing to that in the what's your like the scenario that I'm going to hang over there. Like yes, for like the play of the revolution right now is the play for less than 3 years. That preparing also like take out like input as well as for straight away, but then that so function like putting them into that case like place and giving them time until midnight for like one like that period of of the things to the planning on at that point to that release like the case it's most of the video for and it is that have selected for just like the scenario that so like while and so it is in that like case in that case it's like the scenario that I'm looking at and that when I'm looking at and right into doing that small content and so that like through into that probably not only finding out about like the threat of that theory uh, in detail, but also that from that point that theory that that lead would be feel strongly that the police would able to bring that choice as well as that goes to that but yeah is like the scenario that I'm so like that yeah but from that point would be formulated into that might that actual plan to like actually to ensure to that make it out and once again escape from uh, that gate in the suits of the same thing and that somehow manage to like escape once again and make it towards that exact location where that Yuri is like supposed to arrive and before Yuri to like bring Joyce as well as Joyce to that the what the basically like direction like the direction like before that for like home to be an exact make it to the exact location where that Yuri is going up to that airplane and at that point for like to scare Yuri into that into taking Yuri out and that is like to like one of the like scare Yuri into that taking that airplane and basically for that Hopper and Hopper like to be able to like escape from that let's say if they don't like them and like Hopper before getting mind that the plans that you know so like the first step Hopper will be saying would be definitely the spring Hopper will be at that so like at that point I'm listening for like Hopper has about the signal and at that point like and so that what can go to reading about the black only. So when it comes to that period of black lesson, definitely lack the mental point of the power. So like definitely at that point, like of change of the plan to like definitely to for like of anything so to like put together and to that not only take out like the monster but also to like destroy like the non-team then like the Russian big obviously then only for like the hope to still somehow manage to like make it in time towards like the location where like you're able to show up with like with like jokes with the element of like producing that when that doing the scenario plan so and the moment and that way like like with like that would team of like of and so like and so like them struggling their way into that taking out that that scenario that is developed. And at that point, the reference for has to be only a single guard of the class. The reference was just standing guard for like open so when you go into that. So like at that point, trying to that the fear is opening up like the door to like that space like area. And at that point, after the thing that the team of that open and so taking that guard down, reflecting is not that it's going for an certainly at that point down so the point for like the team of that open and so definitely by the lack of the point that pop up somehow managing to like something and so to like help to focus out that the person of the form of maintenance that along with like uh, before like the other thing. And definitely bring at that point like and sort of really decided that basically to definitely escape along with like also to America would be along the like and so without only distinct my new and so without actually agree on that too. It's like doing this enough that I'm so good. So that way like I'm spring so that that way I'm so spring for like the name of that proper and so so the thing like it's like the thing but like and I'm so different area of like the and like basically almost making it towards like the exact location of your age is going with that way of saying but like I'm bring right before like it's also like a state of that hold up with that they are playing like and that the last second everything and do not getting captured like this is now that maybe like by then like and so being so to be simple with offer and then maybe a bond being so to be that and so focus that action to maybe take that as to can and maybe they can set up to like short sign at some point for instance, to be able to like make that up for the kid it's like this thing. If we like I don't at the point I'm the point like and so like slightly only that starting and like only and so getting that and like straight away get it taken out that room scenario that I was saying. I'm only putting either two positive like either it's in pro focus staring that really that like but that you're really going up with like the joke more government that they will be straight away like leading but yeah it's like the one that did that is like theory itself like piloting. It's like one person together and look for that other person together and look for it for like throwing throwing that theory out and basically at that point, I'm only looking for that maybe the right woman whom might have, whom might be maybe used to like flight simulator update games like what to do that so that way like I'm looking more woman like trying to be like luck and those games that way the team of that of more woman and those that is on the offline like setting up from that but yeah, the managing that set up in time that but yeah that can be like activity scenario that I'm looking at. Other subject scenario that I'm looking at playing with friends or something. So therefore, land up living friends right now that like what my team right now might be going to exactly to be great and that they are like I'm preferring that matching perfectly facing flowers remembering to the end at that point I'm looking once again like the next mission happening for that matching and this at that point like I'm seeing to be right there like matching and about it and significantly something in that kind man towards like matching and closely that might be happening and it will be turning into like yeah and if that is the next and it's yeah like happening so like your message that not care message at that point in time do that next year to like say interesting scenario that I'm right now on the range so like so certainly significant amount of benefit for like eventually along that matching journey that it would spend like matching eventually steadily that leading that that group of that with the speed and the thing also practicing together and then between like the last thing like they might be wanting to be for like when one like so managing so the same actually might be getting so same with the mistakes in that situation and that means they will also bring that like one like kind of that at that point for that for it to that for like now when one like to make just make one action that what that would happen in front of like in front might be uh for vaccine to go through all that in front of options might be like the last thing that you may be doing something like great. So the game is going to actually along the journey like in different vaccine eventually steadily do the upfront and this week would be wandering off all alone and for like by the time like the time is here for like vaccine to have safe all in all like the system and so that way like I'm that eventually vaccine ending up to all alone and by the time once like that eventually vaccine once like trying to pick up that and that but now so they make just move. And I'm doing multimedia to get explain this chair and I'm putting that matching starting to that levitate when often that levitate to that matching and at that the last second is when I'm putting that due to that also like frame like 11 I'm putting that 11 by that getting three length of comes the three that texting things up to get that matching and basically 11 months that yeah that will last second that through rather than through the dark void and basically like standing in front of that retina, standing in front and in between that retina and my kid has like retina would be about to take out my kid and basically that way like in like it could be even at that point it will make it an absolute challenge to the retina and to prevent that to that would be the spike retina from that nice ending up with that retina so you taking up that challenge and basically preparing to let go of the retina that feeling so scenario that that way like in the finish 11 and the ending up saving my team like doing the scenario that I'm doing with the show right now. So especially my original thing on this like the most of right now might be eventually that's a bad version like it's a great like the bad version might have been like a very given the subject of like the bad version for the like the bad version and that the bad version of like page might have been like the reason for like the parallel version and that both influence might have been like the reason. So like the tendency in the food case which might have opened up through telekinetic first from the parallel with the injury, which might have accidental first of the pendulum, which might have been like at least scale opening up of the parallel word. Basically, that the parallel word might have been under that might almost left the real world getting swallowed up by that absolute darkness and force and the data element of might have entered that the parallel. So it doesn't matter might have been what it doesn't matter. And the labor spring that the reason for that Vietnam's not taking out that the real world with the play might have been also due to this reason where like I'm looking that the real world might have an effect on like the parallel where like it's like an equation from that the real world gets taken out like if that parallel world like the parallel as well might get taken out sometimes it might be like that with that but now might be aware of it being unfair but that might be the reason for like but now sparing that's the real world system is hidden and the play might have been up like Vietnam making that the real world with the prince commit that time that Vietnam might have had like by then might have used the not of that Vietnam's like telekinesis power or a lot of that all sorts of like power that right now that and that might have had that sort of lost all that all of that Vietnam's power all the way back from that 1950 might have been what might leading to only the reason for them might have been when Vietnam might have when been able to replicate that from that to that the current also Vietnam might be the true extent of the Vietnam, the extent of that power, which that Vietnam still might have not again that might be that that's it because of the bigger areas. And also I'm still getting a message from that like to transform that the real world with the field to more stuff like Vietnam might be Vietnam like ultimate goal because like so the recommendation can be like as like how the different like the real world might affect like the into looking like the real world might have like the uh, might have like the like the very same passengers of that thing like the real world like the in order for like Vietnam to attain to mortality like Vietnam might have to like transform that the real world put the range into not just like might be like it is something without like an individual gets transformed into like the monster like that individual might actually get immortalized even though environment, even though the role in anything of that might be not any like a flexibility still immortality might happen one time an individual gets transformed into someone else. You like to think like might be that's a little to be so like that thing for like that not to like a thing immortality through that so turning it for the rainbow look at into that's a monster might be that ultimate goal that we try to bring. It might be little that approximately to that right now that limited powers that right now look at the more we know to that range of feel that the range of the free like that the real world might be and the real world with the free to straight away. That means that might be something that now might actually want more than anything that proponents that might be not possible right now might be rejected reducing it. The reason might be the limitation in land, which makes still exist due to that most likely looking at the Vietnam skills now and it's not really fully oriented back to the towards the technology. Maybe like that will put one situation that we want to do like a policy that and different things. So the friends and right now definitely for lacking the eventual final ultimate showdown, possible ultimate showdown battle between that Vietnam and 11 like and when that fight and that now he getting that it's like four powers and that and that's what now being especially awful even when compared to that fluent force that but now the better and it was just fighting to that force around against that but was like there is a scenario in going on against that with everything is certainly not so that they were eventually ending up struggling to keep up with that technology so I don't want that ultimate plan that ultimate that find sort of best perspective in the scenario that I'm standing in the game between that 11 probably getting for and being on the front of that, getting defeated by Vietnam. Defeated and taken off by Vietnam, like in the scenario. So like that's the now second when I'm referring that most likely the real world with the continent friends and I think it's been that exactly by sheer concept that we have that point and just real world with the real black talking away. It's like about the picture that I'm referring and that way like instantly so that will last second like now will be like my consumer information like you're about to take out like around the with the second like simultaneously in fact we are going to create would be something away that but now that's what I getting right now. If that doesn't put scenario or the scenario that it's only bring it to the end of it. It's so that you know so right now that like after like the trying that like now in that section of that layer it's like wait some like and the point that when I get results to get stop and the stairs that I get it bring that to not cheat anything like that anymore in that with the real world it's like and the bring that it might be for that reason that himself might have taken certificate, and that might be how lag the witness ended up trying might have been in the game experience. So that the game experience right now is that team might see most likely having see or have to do talent about which not even see the use speculate from the might be even aware of the game. Not anybody would be fancy, not in not probably not anyone might be aware and that might be that like field might be strategically an incredible thing up. Might be like that project because the game of the frame. That's game of the frame right now for like Robin and Nancy to like the car and getting to the radio phone like them finding out about like the situation of that range of situation of like machine as that might have been throwing that Robin telling Steve about that and the spin off to like that exact song which like with the phrase the real world with the phrase about it. So that point of putting that the all of the movie along with Latin Robin as well as Nancy Morrison. Even Robin and Nancy through the radio one as well as Length of Steve. And those all of them might be known that exact song so that them all will be about the next sing that song. When at that point I'm going to Steve at that point was like a serious and intense phrase that I'm going to like person I'm going to Steve telling all of them to be silent and they random different like Steve alone singing that song incredibly. Yeah, it's such an absolute skillful man like a television scenario like I'm looking it would be totally like waking that song up as well as like instantly disturbing like not as well on hearing like that exact music. It's like what we know with them right now is that like it might be that exact single song you know that like that might be personal to that and might have a lot of content things that's the parallel word or the parallel version of that. So when things about the manipulation might be like the actual version in the parallel version of the brain, like the well, that song might have a lot of relevant take off that the parallel version of the brain fundamental ending up getting captured by and extended by the parallel version of some of which might have been what happened. So like before that, like in the person life of like the parallel version of the brain that sound might help a lot that relevant and might be extremely personal to that the foundation of the trade and even to the present change that now what might be that is a description of the good that secondary of spring that works to the most again that single song alone that might choose able to that sister right now and affect right now might be like and might be like activity that's about integration the minimum thing. So the name is bring that Dustin with like I said like I'm bring that but it still might not have that effect to that exact sort that might be attracted to the integration the name of framework. So the name bring that that play that all sorts of so that gets to let's say Macquarie for like all of that attempt failure and we at that point I'm totally saying like Robin telling them that they would need to write that exact song. And at that point that's getting Robin that is be that here that's a said to that exact song. So like at that point that Robin telling them that for all of the villains sing that exact song together. So that right then is when I'm looking at selling that all to that piece and then next to single handedly that thing and still they are saving my favorite like in the scenario that exact song that skip on another time say it like in the scenario and because of the so they want to the friend. And that's why I'm not running for like everyone being so extremely percent of white scale and with Maxine like hooking and something safe and basically at that point I'm not looking for like the very first time that they during have to get from all the things you will so good that they will be that they will not that I'm going to go in the right now.